Did you know that 65% of performance problems and up to 80% of workplace conflict comes down to strained relationships? Not work, not skill, not the duties, strained relationships. As a small business, you can't afford to ignore this tension. And if you've got a couple of employees who just aren't getting along, we're all human, I'm here to help. Hi, I'm Kathy Doherty, the People Navigator, and if you run a small business or lead a team, you're in the right place. If there's tension between a couple of members of your team, it affects the whole business. It affects everybody in the business. Everybody you bring into the team matters, and everybody within the team matters. They affect it. You don't have the luxury of being one of those huge corporate tankers where it's diluted. It's more intense when you're in a smaller team, when you're in a smaller business. And today we're going to talk about how to recognize those early stages of tension and intervene confidently before things boil over. I often say, nip it in the bud before it bites you in the ass. Don't let it fester. Ignoring it and hoping it will go away doesn't work. It usually builds, and at some point you won't know when is the final straw, but you won't know when that is, and it's more likely to be sooner and bigger if you haven't tried to resolve anything. And what also happens is whatever is going on, and you can have people who got on perfectly well or get on perfectly well outside of the workplace. I've seen that before. I've seen it where two senior colleagues clashed in the workplace, but would travel to work together and have no problems traveling to work together and were perfectly civilized. But when it came to work, they clashed, but that then affected their teams. Everybody then feels it and notices it. And like I've commented before, what you don't condemn, you condone. What you don't take action against, what you don't try to address is then seen as okay. It's easier to deal with these things when they're small. It's more likely that you will find a resolution when they're just little niggles, and you can have that conversation before there's too much skin in the game, so to speak. What can help is mediation. And actually, I would recommend, where it's financially viable for you, to have as many of your leaders trained in mediation. It doesn't mean that you will not have disagreements. It doesn't mean there won't be conflict. It just equips you better on how to deal with that when it arises. It also increases everybody's awareness of the different angles. That also there's another way of dealing with this. It doesn't have to be locking horns. You can actually have a conversation, and it may be that you will need to get external assistance depending on what it is. This all relies on you actually being aware that there is an issue. My dad would often talk about the little antenna. How aware are you of things? Are you aware of any of those little niggles? And are you of the mindset, just let them sort it out amongst themselves? Or are you the type to go, let's have a conversation? And if you are going to address it, then I would recommend having conversations with them separately. Talking to them individually allows you to hear the different perspectives without anyone trying to talk over each other or trying to justify themselves or trying to counteract. So don't have that conversation between the two of them. Separate and establish what's going on. And it avoids people feeling like they're being ganged up on. You know that feeling when there's maybe just you and there's more like there's a whole load of other people going, what's going on? You feel under the microscope and probably less likely to open up as to what the real issues are or what's really bugging them. Also choosing the right environment where they're not going to be overheard. There's no chance that they could be, it's not like a goldfish bowl where people will kind of nosy in because we're curious people and we'll kind of go, what's going on? What are they having a conversation about? I wonder if it's about. You're trying to avoid all of that because you want the individuals to talk as freely and as openly. Sometimes going for a walk, if that's possible, grab a coffee, go for a walk, have a chat, because what you can find is that people open up a bit more when they're not having to look you in the face. It's that, they will walk and talk, and if you've got a park nearby that you can do there, because then you've got the green space, which then helps in terms of that 20 minutes in a green space has mental health benefits and it calms people down. So there's all sorts of things that you can do to encourage people to open up, to be honest about what's going on. And also sometimes that can help them get a bit of perspective Or, as I've said in previous videos, to feel seen and to feel heard. But sometimes you might make a decision that it's beyond your skill set, or it might be better getting an independent person in to hear and to mediate, because maybe you're too close. Maybe you're too involved and you need somebody more neutral than you might be, either from your own perspective or from the individuals involved. They might feel that you're biased or that they're not going to be properly listened to, especially if one of those individuals is a family member and the other one's not. There is going to be bias and it's going to be very difficult. So those sorts of circumstances, you're certainly wanting somebody neutral and ideally external, who won't feel that if they get involved, there's repercussions from them. So it can get very messy, but it doesn't have to be if you take early action. It's that a stitch in time approach. If you do that, you stand a better chance of not needing to get to the point of external mediation. But I would certainly recommend training, you yourself getting trained, as well as any leaders, anybody you see as having leadership potential in your business, getting trained in mediation as a skill set, because it will always come in handy, whether it be between you and your people or you and clients and customers. Those skills are always going to come in useful. It will never be a waste of an investment. Try and find common ground between your team members. We have more in common than divides us. And we know that's true. It's not just a saying. It's not just a nice sign. It actually is true. So if you can find something that does connect them, and it could be something super, super simple, like they want to come into work, do a good job, be able to get on with things, enjoy their working environment, and head home happy or content. Don't we all want that? Find that thing that they have in common and start from there. Sometimes it's up to you to set the behavioural expectations. People who work together don't have to be friends, but they do need to respect each other. And sometimes you might find yourself in a position where this is the avenue you have to take. It's not parenting your people, it's setting behavioural expectations in a professional work environment. We're not talking about them being down the pub or in their own family environment. In the workplace, respect is key. Just like you as a leader, being liked is a bonus, but being respected is essential. It's the same for everybody else in the team. Friendships can come and go, and what might be the case where it's something personal that has impacted on the work relationship, this is when mediation might help. Or if that's not an option, then you need to set those expectations for them of what is acceptable in the workplace, and you set the tone and hold them accountable to it. It's being firm but fair. It's not about being mean, and it's not about bullying them, but it's setting firm expectations. They're adults, and sometimes it can be a challenge ensuring people behave like adults. Whatever you do, make sure you follow up regularly. I said this before in the video about giving feedback without the drama. Follow-up is key. It's not just about checking that progress is being made. It's also about being positive about any progress that's being made, any further conversations that are needed, any little tweaking or whatever agreements are in place. It's continuing that conversation so that things don't just get left and forgotten about, and before you know it, you're back where you started and potentially worse, because by that stage, things might have been aired that wouldn't otherwise have been aired. Follow up, don't just leave it. Do it separately to begin with, because you're wanting to suss them out, to see individually how things have gone, and if the other stages have gone well, then this will be a more productive conversation. They know they can be open and honest, that they can have a fruitful conversation with you, and then you might decide that having a group conversation with the individuals involved might be beneficial, but you'll have to gauge that by the situation. This is where I talk about growing your confidence, competence, and capability. Acquiring these skills, being able to address anything that arises. The situation will change, the circumstances will change. And things like whether somebody had a good night's sleep, whether they missed their bus or their train, or they had a flat tire. All of these things can impact and influence the nature of the conversation you're going to have. And those are things that are out of your control. So the more that you can grow your own confidence to deal with these things and equip yourself with skills to do that, the less daunting it will be for you to weave your way through these situations. People are human. Surprise. They're messy. They're not bots. We're not AI creatures yet. And so there is going to be messiness. There is going to be conflict. But it's how you handle it that matters. Have you had a tricky relationship that you've managed or addressed in some way? Share your tips, approaches, or any questions you might have in the comments below. And remember to like, share, subscribe, and pop over to the website as well and sign up for the newsletter. And see you next time.